This is Cruise Radio.
Cruise Radio is brought to you in part by tripinsurance.com. Travel insurance done right by the people who know travel insurance. Get a quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida.
This is
Cruise Radio. Cruise Radio.
Mark and his family just returned. I say just returned. In October, they took a cruise on the Carnival Firenze. Carnival Cruise Lines, one of their newest ships they got from Costa Cruises, based out of Long Beach, California, year-round. It sails down to the Mexican Riviera. Mark joins us on the line to talk about it. Hey, Mark.
Doug, how's it going?
Good, man. It's awesome to hear your voice. It's been a little while. Before we jump to Carnival Firenze, we'll take a step back, as we always do. Give me some pre-cruise thoughts. What made you want to take this Carnival ship out of L.A.?
Primarily it was our family, but we also opted to go with our Girl Scout troop, my daughter's troop. She's turning 18 this year. Troop's kind of disbanding. They've earned some money over the years from cooking sales and all that, and kind of a last hurrah as part of the troop. We decided to get the troop together and go on a 7-day on the West Coast, and the Firenze worked out perfectly because a couple things. One, it was on the West Coast. We live in Reno, so nice, easy jaunt down to LA. Two, Firenze is brand new, right? So it's kind of nice to try out that class of ship. I always like to knock out, additional Carnival ships. And kind of the third is that, I turned platinum on our last cruise, and now my oldest daughter and my wife both turned platinum on this cruise. So it's kind of nice, checking a lot of boxes for us. So
yeah. Now, you're in Reno. Is that a drive or a flight to LA?
It really depends on the occasion. Sometimes we'll drive it depending on what else we've got going on. But this time we ended up flying down from here to Long Beach. So
okay, gotcha. Very nice. So you make your way over to Long Beach. Do you do any pre-cruise time there or day of?
Oh, yeah, no, we always fly in the day before. We love Long Beach. We love the weather, the climate. Always love checking out the Queen Mary, staying right there and down in the centric area there for the shops. And it's just so much to do. My daughter loves a couple restaurants there. So we just enjoy the day and take the time to enjoy the site. So
it comes to embarkation day. You make your way to the terminal. How was embarkation, and how long did it take you from the curb to the ship?
Kind of a catch that week we were there. It was actually the Long Beach Marathon that day. So it added a lot of the bridges were closed and road closures. So there's a lot of kind of, planning you had to do in advance, but we made it work. One of the things we actually do recommend as a tip that people have is we actually had our Uber drop us off from, we stayed in Long Beach and just went over the bridge to the pier. We actually had them drop us off at the Queen Mary terminal, at the actual Queen Mary itself, instead of the cruise terminal. The reason that's beneficial is because you don't have to sit in the traffic to go through security to get into the terminal. They just drop you off right at the drop off at the hotel, and you literally walk 10, there's maybe 500 feet maybe. Yeah. And you're right at the cruise terminal. You drop your bags off right there. And it saved, our Uber driver said it probably saved him 45 minutes of driving.
Yeah.
Big tip there. So I've been platinum. My wife and daughter both turned platinum on this cruise. So we got to enjoy the lounge. We were on, I think, within about 45 minutes. We got there 10:30. We were on by about 11:30. Boarding started about 11:15. So. Okay.
Yeah, not bad at all. So what was your first impressions walking on to Carnival Firenze?
Interesting. It was, coming off the panorama, the Firenze, that the Venezia class is obviously based on that same platform. So initial impression was not different until you see that atrium, right? And you don't see that giant dreamscape. You see the columns with the gold gilded, tops, and almost looks like Caesars when you walk on board. I mean, that's really kind of the first thing in Vegas, right? You see the sky painted on the roof and the columns and the colors, very much like that. But it was actually quite impressive. Actually, it looked a little higher end, I think, compared to walking on the panorama or the other ships, because it just felt a little nicer, right? It looked like a lot of marble. I mean, obviously it wasn't really marble, but it's kind of like the faux marble, kind of the polished floors. It was kind of a neat experience. They had a lot of Italian flags. They were really kind of going all in on the Italian theme when you walked on. So a lot of Italian music was playing. It was nice. It was fun. It was a party atmosphere as soon as you got on, but it looked really nice. Layout was, very familiar. Obviously, it's, again, based on the same class as the panorama, the horizon, the vista. So we went right and grabbed a quick bite to eat up on Lido at Guy's Burger. And waited for our rooms to open up. So
you talking about that reminds me of how much Vegas and the cruise industry parallel each other, or did at a certain time. For instance, like this ship with the sky painted, you have that at the Forum shops at Caesars and also the Venetian, but also like New York reminds me of the old Carnival Fantasy class ships. It's just a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I think there may be 10 years difference, right? In Vegas, the cruise ship kind of followed the Vegas theme in the 80s and 90s with the glitz and the glamour and the neon. Vegas has now kind of gone cosmopolitan, for the last decade. And then so they kind of, the Cosmo and those all followed that. and then you still got that classic Caesars, which is still Caesars, right? And
Yeah.
I think people kind of like that it feels a little nicer. I mean, the ship did feel generally a little higher end than the other Carnival ships. I mean, it just, the Panorama and the Vista are nice, but it's very, that very contemporary, kind of that Caribbean feel. And they kind of all feel the same. This felt very different.
Yeah.
It did remind me very much of the old Farkas style of ships. Maybe not quite over the top like that. I know that I think still has influence at Costa, but you can definitely feel that kind of that whimsical effect they were going for back in the older days, where you had the statues and the colors, and you just kind of were taken somewhere else. And I think they're really going for that on the ship. So, but it was a neat effect. It wasn't over the top. Definitely not over the top.
Yes, certainly. Let's talk about the staterooms that you booked on this 7-night cruise. So what kind of staterooms did y'all book, both your family and then the extension of your family? And what did you think of it through the 7-night voyage?
My family, my wife, and my 2 daughters, we booked a balcony on deck 10 and an insider across the hall on 10. We've never stayed on Lido before, so that was a nice new experience. Definitely enjoyed that, having the convenience of all the food, especially on that ship. There's a lot of food options right there on the Lido that are not on other ships. So that was convenient. And our friends actually just stayed one deck below us on 9. Oh, sorry, they were one above us, on 11. But almost directly above us. So again, they were very convenient right up to the Lido deck as well. Balcony and an inside for them as well. So
when you're staying on the Lido deck, sometimes you get caught in that hot air vortex because you have the sliding doors that go out to the pool. Did you notice any of that, or was the hallways always cool?
Oh, no, there was definitely a problem. So we were pretty far forward on 10. I planned that when I booked my room, because I knew that was a problem on the other ships I've been on, right? Those first cabins, one also for noise.
Yeah.
So I made sure we booked we were about the second or third cabin from the front. So pretty far down on 10, but just a minute to walk down to the Lido deck. But there definitely was a problem, definitely coming off the Lido. I think the way that those ships, I don't know if you've been on the Venezia or if you've seen, or the Firenze, but they have kind of, unlike like the Panorama where it just opens up a door to the Lido deck, there's kind of a walkway on both. It's kind of like a gardened off wall. So it kind of sections off a little, I think the funneling air. But the problem we saw a lot was it was warm right there, but it's really more of a water issue. We always saw it would rain and water would spill into that lobby area. So there was always water in that. Kind of a new problem. We've never seen it. So it's always wet. They're always drying off the carpet. So I'm not sure if the water funnels in off the Lido deck. But it wasn't too bad on the heat. We lucked out that it wasn't so hot. It was actually I think we were following a tropical depression. So it was kind of cloudy a lot of the trip. So the sun wasn't quite beating down as much as it could on these itineraries down in Mexico there. So it wasn't too bad, but definitely a water issue. So I'm not quite sure if that's a recurring theme with the ship, but it was 7 days, it was always wet. They were always dry on the floor.
So this ship was launched, I guess we'll call it like right around the same time as the Vista class, give or take. Did you find the staterooms comparable, like amenities and everything that you found on Carnival Panorama when you sailed prior?
Yeah, actually nicer. We actually like these rooms a little bit better. Partly one, the bathroom had a glass door versus the shower curtain, right? The dreaded shower curtain. There's a nice sized shower. The bathroom wasn't the kind of the typical Carnival utility looking bathroom with kind of the blue sink and the toilet. They actually had a nice little vanity with, actually nice decorative touches, a nice mirror with it looked like a nice little bathroom. It wasn't any bigger, but the shower door was really nice to have. A little quirk to the door though. I don't know if viewers will notice if they go on these. There's a hole in the door for the handle. Water tends to get out of that a little bit. It's kind of a weird design, but other than that, cabin is great. The decor is really nice. I think it's a little nicer than that kind of your standard blues, and I think the bluish theme they're going with on most of the new ships, kind of more of a a little more elegant. The curtains have kind of a design that matches kind of the Firenze, the Florence look that the whole ship has. I think the table and the vanity all really nicely decorated, kind of match that theme. And one thing we also noticed is a lot of hooks, a lot of like hanging hooks in the room the other ships don't have. Normally we bring an extra set of like hanging hooks to hang up, jackets or lanyards. There's tons of them in this room. We didn't have to do that. We actually had plenty of hooks, so lots of storage space. So that was a nice upgrade to the rooms, we think. So
awesome. That's good to hear. Now, you were saying about all the food options on Lido deck. So let's switch gears to the food. We'll start at the marketplace, the Lido buffet area, and then go out from there. So how was the buffet area, and how did you find it as far as crowds and congestion, like during the peak dining times?
We actually didn't do a lot in the buffet. We didn't give them a lot of other options, but when we did, it was fine. Typical Carnival, nothing. I wouldn't say it was good or bad. It was just your typical Carnival buffet. You had 7 to 8 options. You had nice dessert. We found the food quality actually pretty good, so at least it was consistently tasty. The biggest issue we had at the buffet was the layout on the newer ships, like the Panorama. I think maybe I don't know if the Vista redid this, the Horizon. I'm sure the Mardi Gras is the buffet is kind of the island style on those ships where you can walk up and there are different stations. Well, on this class of ship, they've gone back to the lines, which we found to be kind of frustrating, right? Where you have to queue up to the long line on the buffet to get something. So if you want to get a bite of salad, you want to get one item, you have to kind of wait in a line to get back to get your item, versus where you can walk right up and grab something and leave. So we found that kind of frustrating, but the overall crowds are not too bad. We found the seating and the layout of this buffet really nice. It's really kind of open. It makes you, the design is so to speak kind of reminiscent of like a terrazza, kind of a terrace outside. So it's really kind of open. It's green. It's really kind of pretty. It's a nice place to sit. But yeah, other than that, food was fine. So it was good.
Now, when I was sailing, they were setting up well, it was only temporary when I was there, but it looked like it was going to be permanent up a deck on deck 10, right there on the starboard side. They had like meatballs and stuff. Was that up there and operational?
Yeah, El Mercado. Yeah, that was actually the replacement for the deli.
Okay.
So that was open full time. That was open, I think, like 11 a.m. to probably midnight. Mm-hmm. Great spot to go to. They had, your meatball sandwiches, your wraps, all that right there on 11, which was kind of nice. It actually took people a day or two to find it. So the first day or two, if you want a secret place to go eat, go up there, and there's tons of seating. They had one thing that I've always found interesting is that you never find bags of chips on Carnival ship. They've always said, they're too, they get soggy. Well, they had bags of free, Lay's chips there that you could grab, with your sandwich, which was kind of, okay, I guess it does work now. So people like Lay's chips. I've heard that on, Cruise Critic before. They have met El Mercado with their meatball sandwich. They have hot dogs. And it was really quick grab and go, which is kind of nice. And I think the menu may have been actually more extensive than the regular deli, but it didn't have things like French fries. So it's kind of maybe a trade-off, but it was really convenient, tons of seating. And that Lido deck is a very interesting design. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a few minutes because you're right. That is that's certainly a departure from any Carnival Lido deck I've ever been on before. But as far as the food in the buffet, or rather on the Lido area, like the guys, the Blue Iguana, and then I don't even remember where the pizza is. How was all that?
Guys, as good as ever. With this ship and the Venezia, they've got the Italian style version of guys. So it's got the melty moots and the pepperoni pizza burger. Fantastic. The pepperoni pizza burger was my favorite. I had one of those almost every day. Really good. Nice. Wish they'd bring those to more ships. They had the Pomodoro, which is the kind of the Blue Iguana version, which is the Italian Mexican fusion. That was really good. I didn't really have any of the Italian options. I think it was meatballs. I had plenty of that at El Mercado. But again, your regular Blue Iguana fare, always good. Pizza, always good. Fairly efficient. We were there. The guys were making, I swear, 15 or 20 pizzas at a time. It was crazy. And they were actually pretty efficient on this ship. So one thing we had on Panorama was there was only one or two guys that were back there, and they always seemed to be backed up. But on this, at one point I went back there was probably 7 people working in that. I don't know how they fit in there, but they did. They had 2 or 3 people making them, 2 guys pulling them out, and 2 guys cutting them up. It was, and they would walk around handing pizza. So it was pretty efficient. So they got that down pat. But it was as good as ever. I'm trying to think any other. This ship also had a couple other items. They have the chicken wings, where the deli is on, I think on the Panorama, on the back of the buffet, they've got a chicken wing section. It's obviously an upcharge, but they were decent. Wanted some wings, they've got those. And then they also did on the back, where the seafood shack is in the corner. This is kind of a little, not publicly, not public, I'd say not advertised very clearly, is they actually have a chicken shack that appears for breakfast and lunch, and then seafood shack at night. And it's not Shack's chicken, but it is Shack's chicken. It's just not branded. So you can go there, get your chicken sandwiches, your chicken strips, your French fries, your breakfast sandwiches, free of charge until they switch it over for dinner for the seafood shack. So it's another option for food. So there's a lot of food options on here.
The main dining room, what time dining did you have, and what were your thoughts of your meals in there?
We did the anytime dining, and I believe we were in the back Michelangelo room. We only had dinner in the dining room one night. This was one area that we found kind of lacking, was service in the dining room was really slow. Our friends that we went with, they're more traditional. They like sitting down, having kind of a sat down dinner and get served. They reported that dinners were taking about 2 hours every night. And frankly, I've been on enough Carnival cruises at this point. I don't need to sit for 2 hours and have a dinner. Yeah. So we all ended up eating on the elegant night with the lobster stout with the second fancy night. It was fine. Dinner was good. fresh hot. But it was just really slow. That dining room though is beautiful. It's an amazing room just to look at. We did find it funny, the Michelangelo statue gets a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of noise. So there's definitely a lot of people poking and prodding at that statue. But it's fun to see that there and kind of all the history that's had with Carnival. So, but it was overall good experience. Just a little slow. Food was good, just slow.
Did you do any specialty on this one?
We don't really do specialty dining on many ships. We've just never. We're not that kind of. We're meat and potatoes kind of people. So burgers, fries, and that's what we eat. I've got a young kid that's 9 and an 18-year-old soon to be, right. So we just eat chicken strips, pizzas, pastas. But El Viaggio, heard lots of great things on that. I have nothing but good things on that. So if people are on there and they want to try it, El Viaggio looks like an amazing place to go eat. That's kind of the more upscale, kind of not cucina, but more of a Tuscan style Italian that they've got on. I think the Venezia and the Firenze. We didn't do bonsai sushi. I almost did, but I didn't this time. And then they've got teppanyaki. So there's no GGs on here. So I know some people are big fans of that. On the other Vista class ships, there's no GGs. Asian restaurant. So I know it's always popular. But yeah, no, we didn't do any of those.
How about in the back of the ship? So like where Ocean Plaza is, they have that, it used to be the taste bar on ships long ago with Carnival. They were testing some concepts out. They were like empanadas, I believe. Are they still doing that back there? Like, where they do trivia and everything?
Yeah, it's the Tuscan Lounge. Yeah, they had an empanada bar.
Okay.
So they would come out. I think it was only midday. I think it would come out for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
We had them. Maybe we had to get them when they were fresher. They weren't the best. I think it's like $1.50 for one. I think
Gotcha.
$4 per stick. It wasn't too super expensive. And it's kind of convenient. You're just sitting in the lounge doing some trivia, listening to music. They have it sitting there. You can go grab a couple different things. They had a couple sides. I don't remember what they were. We only went there once on the first day, and didn't really didn't impress us all that much. But it's an option if you like them. I mean, I'm not really a big empanada fan, so maybe that's why.
Mm-hmm.
But they had, I think, a couple of sweet options and then a couple savory options. So it was a nice option. So at least they're utilizing that space again. Kind of frustrating. We used to go on the Vista back before COVID, and that Ocean Plaza was a nice secret area to get kind of a morning, continental breakfast or maybe a lunch. It was very nice to have. And then they shut that down, and there's nothing in that space for years. So at least they're putting something back there and making use of it. So.
Okay, so how about the entertainment on this 7-night cruise? And I'm curious, like I know that your daughter's like right there on the cusp of 18, her and her friends. Did they do the teen club at all?
No, I think her friend turned 18 right before we got on, so she wasn't even available, had the opportunity to go. And my daughter, 17, almost, she'll be 18 in a month. Kind of growing out of the teen club. She's been that way for about a year now. So really it was more of kind of entertaining with us. It's kind of like reverting back to when they're younger, right? They kind of hang out with us a bit more. But they, she, found lots of loungings. My daughter's kind of an artist, so she liked to find places, has her laptop, and was actually doing some school while she's, in some college classes. So she actually went and took her laptop and found there's lots of really nice seating areas on the ship. Did some work and did that and killed a lot of time, did some drawing. It just kind of kept to herself, spent some time with our friends. And then, but she kept plenty occupied, I guess for what a 17 or 18-year-old can do without, be able to gamble, right? So
sure, yeah. What about the other entertainment for you guys?
A lot of live music. There was a band, I forgot the name, I think from Outer Space, I think they were called. They were really good house band that they would have in the Tuscan Lounge. Play a lot of 70s, 80s, 90s music. Definitely sat and listened to that quite a bit. Did a lot of trivia. Didn't catch any of the shows this time. I don't think they were really that different from the ones I saw on the Panorama. Might have had one different one, but I'm not a big stage show person, so we don't really tend to sit and watch those. I know they did the World of Color. We saw that last time, so we didn't see that this time. So we kind of skipped out in the main lounge. Comedy was always popular. We tried to catch it, but just my schedule on this trip was just busy doing other things, and we never caught the comedy, but always a big line. Got the same Tuscan Lounge you see on the other ships, so always packed. Heard good things from our friends that did see it, so always good. So.
Okay. And sea days, as far as crowds and congestion around the pool, as we talked about a few minutes ago, it is a little bit of a different concept. So how was it, like, right there around that Lido deck pool and also the aft pool in the aft area?
So this is an interesting part about this ship, like you mentioned. Yeah, that Lido deck. We actually are big fans of the Lido design on this ship. I'm not a sun worshiper. We love shade. I like to see activity, but I like to be covered. And we found that the Lido on this deck, on this ship, is really nice for people watching. We did find it, the lack of the additional pool. I think Havana, the La Terrazza not having a pool like Havana does on the Vista class ships. I think you can definitely feel that because the people that would be in that space are using the main pool. I think the pool on this is also a little smaller than on the Panorama. It looked smaller to me. And there's only obviously one pool in the back on 10 as well. So those were definitely crowded. You hit that between 12 and about 2 o'clock. You're not finding a seat anywhere on the main deck, especially on the Lido deck that's so much smaller. I bet you the floor space on the main Lido is half the size that it is on, say, the other, Vista class ships. It's taken up by covered seating on 10 and 11. That's got blue, on deck 10 on this ship, you've got the Java Blue, which is actually right there where I think the Red Frog rum bar is on, like the Panorama. And then on the other side, you've got that La Rococo, which is kind of the equivalent bar to that. Those take up a lot of space. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of maybe about half the deck. But there's lots of tables, places to sit and watch the deck. They've got a movie screen right there with, terrace seating on deck 11 and 10. So we did a lot of that. I watched Dune, watched a lot of movies. It was really nice seating for movies. The only other quirk to the ship is getting up to the water park. It was really kind of a pain, right? To get up to, I think it's 12. On the other ships, you can walk upstairs on the Lido deck. You can walk up, from 10 to 11, 11 to 12, right there in Lido. But if you want to go up to the water park from the pool, you got to go into the elevators or the stairs up to 12 and then go back outside. So it's kind of a quirky. It's because of that covered roof they've got there, which is convenient, but it does add some additional challenge. But there's tons of seating up top. I think one of the benefits to not having the bike track on this ship is that they've got a lot more open seating up on 12. So if you are definitely a sun fan, you've got room up there to go sit and enjoy the sunshine. So definitely some quirks to that. But yeah, we love the space. Deck 10, you wanted music and activity. Deck 10 back aft is where they have the DJ most of the time, which is kind of a departure for Carnival. But they would do the ice carvings. They would do the Italian. They did an Italian festival thing on deck 10 where they had all the flags out and they would do the Italian activities out on that Lido on 10. So we actually really like the space. And actually I found deck 11 to be my favorite place on the whole ship to sit by the water because you had covered glass above you and you could sit with these really nice tables and play games and watch the ocean go by and still kind of feel like you're in the activity, but not quite, in the sunshine. So we were big fans of that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the way that Lido deck is set up. Like you were mentioning, I'm not a sun person either. And I would always go and bring a book or just my laptop and work on deck 10 right there, kind of tucked away where I think they have like the rolling library right there, or they did on my sailing on the port side there. And it's just like, it is if you're not on board to like get fried in the sun all week, and if you want to do that, you can go to the back of the ship because that aft pool has plenty of that. But that is like the perfect sea day relaxation spot right there.
Oh, 100% agree. In fact, we've been on the Oasis class ships on Royal, and I love the Central Park. It's one of my favorite places on any cruise ship. Kind of being under those glass canopies, especially if it's raining or the weather isn't great, and kind of all that greenery. Well, you kind of get that same effect, maybe not quite to that scale on the Firenze on deck 11, especially. They've got trees that are kind of faux trees that are kind of set up there where they're kind of with the greenery and the glass ceilings, and it's all really nice, very nice big hole with nice big tables and plush couches. We had a little bit of rain. It was nice sitting there with the rain kind of hitting above you, but not, obviously not getting wet. So it was a really nice effect. So it was a really nice open space. It had ping pong up there, which was kind of, interesting, also a little annoying, but it was nice. It was covered and protected, but kind of hard to relax when you have a ping pong table going right next to you. But that wasn't all the time, and there's plenty of places to sit. And then none of that, but Il Mercato's right there. There's a pergola bar on the other side on deck 11 as well. So you go get your drinks, your beverages there, and stay right there on deck 11 and have all the all the relaxation you want up there. So
before we get to the casino, I'm curious how with Java Blue being on the Lido deck and how popular Java Blue is. Were there many lines like spilling out onto Lido that you noticed?
No, the lines did get pretty long. It would wrap the way they have it set up right now. It's a pretty big room. It's not like on some of the ships where the Java Blue is kind of a desk, and on the promenade where there's a line there. They actually have enough space so they can kind of wrap it around, kind of by the windows into and kind of towards the Lido, and you could probably queue up maybe 20 or 30 people easily. There were lines, but there was always 2 or 3 people back there working pretty quick. They got to know us pretty quick. My daughter's a big coffee drinker. She works at a coffee shop, so she likes her coffee. So they got to know us pretty quick. It was fast. There were times it got slow, but the only weird thing about that location is the temperature. If you're in Mexico in the morning and it's muggy as all get up, and you wake up in the morning, you go get that cup of coffee, we're going to be sweating a little bit. Because it's open air. So that's the only kind of weird quirk to that space. But most of the time it worked out. But especially when the ship was moving, it had good airflow, so it was a really nice, pleasant place. It really felt like you're in Italy, at, on a little corner side, street side coffee shop. That's what it really felt like to us, because all the tables and the trees and the openness to it. So, I mean, pros and cons. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about your ports of call here, Mark, and we'll start at the first one, Porto Vallarta. What did you do there, and what was the highlight?
So, I've been to the Mexican Riviera many, many times over the last 10 years. I mean, I just did the Disney 1 or 2 years ago. We did the Panorama last year. But one of the things I've always wanted to do was Rhythm of the Nights. Very, very popular Carnival excursion. This is an excursion that takes you to this Cirque. I think it was actually started by Cirque du Soleil show in the jungle on Las Caletas Beach in the evening. Fire, dancing, they give you dinner, and it's just a really beautiful location. So we actually decided, we're gonna splurge and just get this one done. I've been here so many times. I've always wanted to do it. I hear so many good things. So we did that. That was about a 6-hour trip. You leave the ship at about 3:00, and you are literally the last people to get on the boat. You pull in, and everybody's waving at you, honking at you, and the ship leaves like 2 minutes after you get on the ship. So you come back at night, but that was an amazing event, beautiful location. The show was spectacular. Dinner was really good. The only caveat we didn't like about it was a little bit rushed. So if anyone does that excursion, and a lot of people do that one, make sure you give yourself enough time when you eat to go look around the beach and go to the water and then take your pictures, because they will kind of get you into the show and dinner pretty quick. So, but it's absolutely worth every penny. If it's something, we would want to do again, we'd recommend it in a minute. But I think it's a one and done type of experience, but it's very, very beautiful, amazing, well worth going to. So
awesome. Very cool. So then after that was Mazatlan. How was your day there?
Mazatlan always turns into a sea day for us. It's a nice day for everybody else to get off the ship. Mazatlan, my family has a condo in Mexico. So Mazatlan kind of just feels like the condo for us. And so it's nothing. Cabo's kind of unique, and I think Puerto Vallarta is kind of unique. Mazatlan, while it's a beautiful city, nothing terribly unique for us, in terms of Mexico. So we tend to always stay on the ship. Ship gets empty. We get to enjoy the pools. We get to enjoy, all the activities, read some books, and just enjoy the lack of crowd. So, but our friends did take a city tour, and they enjoyed it. Got to see some beautiful cathedrals. Got to go to Stone Island, or go check out the beaches, the Malecon. So a lot of options. They actually walked right off, picked up I think a palapa or whatever, a cab, right there off the ship. You dock in Mazatlan in an industrial port, so they shuttle you to the kind of the entrance, but very easy. So no extra walking. She's not very mobile, our friend, so it was very easy for her to get a little. I think it was like a rickshaw, but it was like an open air cab.
Yeah.
And they drove around town for a couple hours, and they had a nice day checking out the city. So that's what we did there.
Since you stayed on board, did you notice that there were a lot of people off the ship, where you had a lot of it to yourself?
Oh, it was 80%. It was empty. It was dead for probably 4 or 5 hours. It's dead. No one's on there. I think I was looking. I think these cruises get a lot of blue and kind of blue card. The newer cruisers, or at least first time Carnival cruisers. So I think they definitely funnel off the ship. I mean, you see this in Cabo. This is one of the reasons we almost never get off in Cabo, is because of the same thing. It's just, we've been to Cabo, but we did something in Cabo this time. But yeah, Mazatlan is definitely a port for us, where it's like, unless I've got something I've got to do in Mazatlan, I'm just going to enjoy the nice extra day. I like sea days. So
yeah, same
it was
here.
a nice day.
And then how was Cabo?
Cabo is, Cabo's Cabo. I mean, Cabo is what it is. I call it the Cozumel of the West Coast. Lots of fun things, but we actually, I didn't participate. I was taking the photos, but my family and our friends did the Cabo or the dolphin encounter at the Cabo Dolphin Center right there in Cabo. The last time we did a dolphin experience a couple years ago in Cozumel, didn't go very well. So we wanted to try it again. Kids are older, so we went to one that's right there through Carnival. You walk right from the ship. It's a 5-minute walk from the pier. So it's right in town. Beautiful facility, amazing excursion. And not only that, but normally when you go to these dolphin things, they kind of keep you really far away from the water, and they make it really hard for you to take photos. They want to sell you the $300 photo package. We were literally 10 feet from our group in the water. So I was taking hundreds of photos. It was the best experience I've ever had. It was a great experience. If anyone's looking to the dolphin, the one in Cabo, don't do the one that's like in San Jose del Cabo, which is like 20 miles away. Do the one in town. Can't recommend that one enough. That facility is amazing. It's beautiful. It's can't recommend it enough. So that's what we did there for a couple hours. Great experience. The amazing part of this is it's so close to the ship. You can see it from the ship. It's so close, and the facility is spectacular. Waterfalls and palm trees. It's just an amazing experience. So
Certainly. Very cool. So you make your way back to Long Beach, California to debark. How was actually, you know what? We didn't actually talk about the casino. So we'll kind of back up and talk about that really fast. How was the casino as far as the smoke situation in and around it? Because I understand they have a non-smoking annex kind of thing on that one.
Yes. I mean, I'm a little biased. I come from Nevada, so casino smoke is kind of a normal part of living in Northern Nevada. Every place we go has got a casino, so you kind of used to the smell. But in reality, the smoking wasn't terrible. It was a little, I mean, it definitely trended. There are, I think, a lot of elite cruisers, there are a lot of older cruisers, there are a lot of pretty diehard gamblers on this cruise. I think there's a number of gamblers, and I don't know what it is about that group, but they tend to smoke a lot and have a good time. So a lot of smoking in the casino. It was pretty well enclosed, although we did smell a bit of smoke as you were on the atrium, kind of on deck, I think 4 and 5. You could kind of smell a little, it was kind of bleeding out. But that non-smoking annex is in that back corner. And that was nice, but it was always packed too, which is interesting because I know they make a big deal about, smoking means they'll make more revenue. But that, I swear, there's sometimes we'd walk into the non-smoking annex was just as busy, if not busier, in that small space as the whole casino was. So wow. It would be nice if they expand. I honestly wish they'd flip it.
Yeah.
I mean, they never will, but it'd be nice if they put the non-smoking in the main part. I know Norwegian kind of does that. I know some of the other cruise lines are doing that. So it would be nice, but it was average. It was nothing, but the annex was nice to have.
Yeah. Gotcha. Very cool. So you make your way back to Long Beach, California. How was the debark for y'all?
Fairly painless. So again, with Platinum, we got the priority debark. It was, so a couple of things said, it was a little chaotic. The one thing Carnival needs to really keep working on, every cruise we go on is announcements and like being very clear what you need to do and where. They give you that sheet, and I've done a million of these debarks, but it's never, you get to the lounge and like, okay, we'll announce groups, and people just crowd doors and they just rush. But we did find that, once we kind of got into the lounge and escorted out as Platinum, they actually dedicated elevators to Platinum guests to get down. I think you're on 4 and you have to get down to 3 to get off the ship. So they actually had elevators because we did the express debark. We took our luggage and had our luggage with us, and they actually had an elevator waiting for people to go down one or 2 flights of stairs to get off the ship. So that was actually kind of nice. It was a little chaotic, but not bad. I think people are just ready to get off and go home for the day. And then once we got out, normal craziness, but it wasn't too bad. And we actually were flying out of Burbank, which is quite a long way. So we had a shuttle waiting for us, ready to go. And no, it wasn't too bad.
Okay. Well, looking back on this Carnival Firenze cruise, it's certainly a different Carnival Cruise Line ship and much of a departure from the other ones. So do you have any first-time tips for anyone who might be considering it?
Well, I know. So I have a couple opinions on the Firenze. One, I know it's going back to 3 and 4 day cruises. So I think for that itinerary, it's fantastic. I do want to say, I think if you have younger kids, I think the Panorama on the West Coast is a better option. Just because it has more things to do for kids. I like the trampoline park, the sky ride bikes, and there's some other kid things that are on there that are better. I think the Sportswear is a little bit better on the Panorama. But if you're an adult or your kids don't really care about some of that stuff, the Firenze is it's actually a really nice option. I think it's a really beautiful ship. It's something a little different than Carnival, than your typical Carnival cruise ship. It's got a lot of food options. I think it actually has more food options than the Panorama did. And I think for the West Coast, it's a really nice option. And if you're not a sun worshiper, I think this is your dream ship. There's so many places to sit in the shade and enjoy the ocean go by. So definitely a good choice for that.
Looking back here, what was the biggest highlight for y'all?
I want to say Rhythm of the Nights was kind of a bucket list item that I wanted to do for a decade and a half. And I think that excursion, if you're on the fence, it's an expensive excursion. It's not cheap. But I definitely think it's one of the, it's very Robinson Crusoe. They take you up an hour to this tropical with palm trees, and it looks like Survivor when you walk out with tiki torches everywhere. And it's just a beautiful setting. The food is really good. The show is amazing. It's a good memory, and the boat ride back and forth, the team, the crew there just makes you have a great time. It was definitely one of the better excursions we've ever done. So highlight of the cruise.
Since the restart, cruise prices are sometimes 2 or 3x than what they were, prior to COVID. Did you find that the value was there for what you paid?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we still stick with Carnival because we have a hard time justifying. We've done Disney, I've done Royal. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time justifying other cruise lines because I don't eat fancy meals. You don't need included meal plans. I don't need, I don't drink really, so I don't need drink packages. So I think for the base fare week Carnival, we've always been very happy with them, and I still think they're good. I mean, they're not what they were. However, casino rates are your friend.
Yeah.
So that is one saving grace we've had. We don't gamble a lot. When we get them, Carnival's really generous on those cruise offers. So if anyone is looking, they like to gamble or at least throw some money in the machines, Carnival is very generous when it comes to that. So, it helps offset some of those costs.
Final thoughts of Carnival Firenze.
If you're looking at a West Coast cruise, whether it's a 3 to 4 or a 7 day, the Firenze is a great option. If you're afraid of the sun and you want something that's a little bit more upscale, Carnival Firenze is the way to go. If you want sunshine and open decks, maybe not your first choice, but Firenze, highly recommend it. It's Vegas on the sea. So.
There you go. And talking with Mark about his 7-night cruise to the Mexican Riviera from Long Beach on Carnival Firenze. Mark, as always, great talking to you, my friend.
You as well. Thank you.
Just back from a cruise? Let's talk about it. Email Doug at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,